Hello everyone, welcome to excuse me, another game with adventures cards in it. On the board we have Magpie from Adventures and the event Expedition, which draws you two extra cards at the start of your next turn. Looking at the board, Magpie and Expedition obviously I looked at first. Um, in addition there was Wharf, good card to draw more cards. And there was plus actions and festival, so there's more than enough to make an engine. For trashing, I considered loan at first. I didn't notice count, which is bad of me, but I considered loan at first. I decided against loan because I realized that I would eventually want treasures in my deck, and sometimes loan could not cooperate with other treasures. I considered expedition on 3 here, but I couldn't find a reason why I would do it. Instead, I went for silver because I thought that, well, I would want to get to 5. And by the time my opponent bought a count, I realized that there was count on the board, which is another form of trashing, and it is far superior to loan, I think. So my opponent opened with 5-2 and got a count on their first turn. Here with $4, I think the natural choice is to go for Magpie. It'll I thought it would be useful throughout the game, especially considering that there was tunnel and there are ways to activate the tunnel and gain gold. So Magpie, you know, picks up treasures, so it can help the engine um, be stable and running for longer if it acts as a lab every time it's played. So here I managed to get to my count. I realized after the first Magpie play that I would have $5 in the next hand. My opponent, in the meantime, managed to trash with count and buys a Magpie here. Here, my Magpie fails to pick up any treasure, which is fine. I don't mind gaining Magpies at all. My Magpie revealed a count at the top of the deck here, which leads me to buy an Expedition. The increased hand size from the Expedition means that my count will be able to trash quite a bit more cards than it would ordinarily be able to. I mean, it's a bit unfortunate the estates were in the previous hand, and I won't be able to get rid of those, but I can still get rid of a lot of cards with this one count trash. My opponent here plays count for a second time, and eventually decides on trashing the entire hand, which was 4 coppers. So they've trashed twice now 4 cards. So my opponent's hand is my opponent's deck is very thin, very clean, and they can proceed to start building the deck from here on out. I top deck my silver here as it is still valuable to me, and I trash the rest of the cards, so which was 6 cards. So that is a very good count trash in my opinion. Expedition plus count works quite well. My opponent plays count here, and at this point he or she chooses to discard 2 cards and take 3 coins, which is, basically the roll of the count after you've trashed down. Magpie here gets me a copper, and I realize that I have an opportunity to completely trash all my starting cards here, so I try to go for that by top decking the silver. However, I clicked the wrong button by mistake, and instead have 3 coins instead of no cards in my hand. So making the most of my situation, I decided to buy a festival because I want to build this festival wharf engine with the tunnels gaining gold. Maybe if I have enough money I can play a pillage every turn too. So this was the whole point of my engine. This was my idea, to build a deck that can do that. My opponent here is going to have discount played nearly every turn from this point on, discarding 2 cards and gaining 3 coins. A point to note here is that my opponent still only has 1 magpie, while I have the rest, and that comes into play a little bit later, I think. So my opponent here manages to buy a gold, which I found kind of strange, given that there are ways to just gain gold on this board. So I thought maybe they missed the tunnel interaction with Cartographer and with Count. Here on 5 I have action, so I think now that I can support some terminals, which in this case would be Wharf. I want card draw, so I need to get Wharf in order to be able to do more and more exciting things. My opponent's magpie picks up a gold for him or her, and the festival comes down. I believe, yeah, the count as usual. And this is the turn here where I think my opponent has $10. Takes 3 money from the count, yeah, the gold plus the coppers add up to 10, which is an excellent number on this board with 2 buys, and does exactly what I would have done, but buys a festival and a wharf. So here you see the magpies picking up the treasure, and this is why they're so good. They can make your engine last that much longer because they act as labs sometimes, and if you can organize your deck, like maybe with stables or something, then they act as labs all the time. You have labs that you've probably only bought 1 and managed to gain 3 or 4 more. They're just excellent cards here. At this point, I'm thinking whether to play Count or Wharf. If I play Wharf, I thought that I would not be able to get to $5 because I only have 1 more copper left in the deck. So instead I choose the Count to top deck the Wharf. I know the Festival is in those cards too, so it won't be dead. And I buy another Wharf because with my Festival I can support it. 1 Wharf a turn, that's my plan from here on out. To have 1 Wharf in play per turn and then gradually increase that to 2. At this point I feel a bit behind because my opponent is generating more money than me. Last turn they had $10 and was able to get Festival and Wharf, which is excellent. And they also more trash than I am. I still have 2 estates and however many coppers left in the deck through that misclick. Now here my opponent gets Wharf and Tunnel, so they obviously want to start discarding that Tunnel to gain golds. You see, just from Magpie plays alone, I'm able to draw through nearly the entire deck here, and the 1 Wharf. I use Count here to top deck the Wharf because, like I said, I want 1 Wharf in play every turn. I don't want to play both Wharves right now, and besides I probably need the money from the Count. With $9 here, I still need more draw. I'm not able to draw through my deck as well as I would like to before I go for the Tunnel gold gaining. So my plan for this little while was to buy a festival, get 2 more Wharves, and then go for the Tunnel gold gaining plan. I come up with $9. There's nothing else that I mean I would have bought a magpie if it was still there. But I didn't want a silver, really. Maybe I should have bought the silver given that I had 9 of the 10 magpies this game. Instead, I go for an expedition. My opponent had a quick turn there, and I think managed to get 10 again for Festival and Wharf. With my expedition, plus the magpies, plus the wolf, this time I'm finally able to draw through the deck. But I know that's just because of an expedition that I was able to do that. So I still want to get the 2 wolves before I start going for the tunnels. In fact, just like getting 1 wolf for now, so that I could play 2 next turn. Then buy the second one, that would be fine too. So here I use the count to gain money, top decking a magpie, I have $11, so I see this as an opportunity here to go for a wharf, a tunnel, and an expedition. With the extra card draw from the expedition, I believe I can draw through the deck and start making use of these goals. So my opponent here has another good turn, I think, getting 2 wolves down. Another festival account comes out, again for the usual procedure, discarding 2 cards, gaining 3 coins, coming up with $14. So again, I still feel behind at this point in the game because my opponent has turns like these. They go for double wolf tunnel on this turn. And at this point, I start to consider piles because there's only 5 tunnels left and 2 wolves. My opponent just came up with $14, so they can nearly empty the tunnels. And if they gain a couple goals, that'll push their overall total to what, $20. Very close to ending the game at this point. Here I misplay with the magpies. I could have discarded this tunnel first before playing all these magpies, because then there was a better chance of my magpie drawing 2 cards rather than just the 1. Instead, well, I have to do it this way when there's no more magpies left in my hand and get 2 wolves in play here. Luckily I was able to draw the goal, so the top of the deck is a tunnel, and here I think I make a misplay. I want a wolf, I really do want a second wolf, but I know if I take that then my opponent has the opportunity to just end the game on wolves and tunnel. So my line of thinking was, okay, if I get the wolf and some points, then I would be safe. So I buy the wolf, then I'm thinking about whether to buy a province or a fairgrounds, but it doesn't matter because if my opponent can get all 5 tunnels, then it'll outweigh whatever points advantage that I had. So here I think this was a misplay because it gave my opponent an opportunity to end the game, I think. Because they have the capacity to get $20. I don't know if they could get $20 in play, but if they were able to, then they would win the game. So I should not have taken this chance, I think. So here you see me make this foolish play buying the fairgrounds thinking I was safe. And I wait for my opponent's turn here. However, after a couple moves, you'll see that my opponent abruptly resigns. I don't know why. I checked the logs after the game to see if they had a dead turn, but it didn't look like they had a dead turn. So I found it strange that they just suddenly resigned. But anyway, that is the video for today. Thank you for watching and feel free to leave comments down below.